The heavens are not silent tonight. You can almost feel the air thicken with divine presence, as if time itself were holding its breath. 7 minutes. That is all heaven needs to turn your uncertainty into revelation. The sound you cannot hear, the one vibrating just beyond the edge of your awareness, is the trumpet of Saint Gabriel Archangel. It does not echo in the sky. It trembles within your soul. He comes now to reveal what has been hidden, the truth about a love that has never spoken, yet has never stopped reaching for you. A love that has followed you through prayers, through dreams, through that strange pull in your chest you could never explain. Heaven has been watching, waiting for this exact moment to uncover what silence has been protecting. You have been asking if the person you think of still remembers you, if their silence is absence or if it's something sacred, something meant to grow unseen. Gabriel now descends to answer not only what you've asked, but what your heart never dared to speak aloud. The countdown has begun. 7 minutes for light to break through the silence. Listen carefully, for in this revelation, you will discover who truly loves you in secret and why heaven chose this night to show you. The moment, heaven stopped to watch your heart. Before St. Gabriel Archangel spoke, heaven was silent, watching. Every sigh you released into the night, every prayer whispered in loneliness, every tear that fell without witness was seen by the eyes of eternity. You thought no one noticed the way your heart kept loving even when it had no reason to, but heaven noticed. There was a moment, quiet, unmarked by time, when the angels gathered around your story. They saw your endurance, your compassion, your refusal to let bitterness replace faith. That was the moment heaven stopped its motion to honor your heart. In that pause, Gabriel received permission to speak, to deliver what had been withheld until your spirit was strong enough to receive truth instead of illusion. The Archangel now reminds you that love's silence is never emptiness. It is observation, divine patience, the sacred stillness before a revelation. The one who loves you in silence has been watched over, shaped and refined by the same divine gaze that has followed you. Nothing has been forgotten, not the prayers, not the longing, not the quiet hope that still beats when you close your eyes. Heaven watched because your love is real, and real love always attracts divine attention. The language of silence, how souls speak without words. There are moments when heaven chooses silence not as absence, but as a sacred instrument of revelation. Saint Gabriel Archangel stands before you now, not to fill your ears with sound, but to awaken your spirit to what has always been speaking beneath the surface of words. You see, the divine does not always announce itself through thunder or vision. More often it speaks through the pulse of your own heart, through the weight of peace that settles on you when everything around seems uncertain. That peace is not your imagination. It is the whisper of a bond that exists beyond the limitations of speech and distance. When heaven binds two souls, it does not rely on the frailty of language. It ties them through vibration, through the quiet echo of thought and emotion that travels invisibly between hearts. You have felt this before, the sudden warmth that rises within you for no clear reason. The moment a song seems to carry a message only you could understand. The nights when your dreams replay a face, a memory, a feeling that refuses to fade. This is how the soul speaks when words are denied to it. It is how love continues its dialogue, even when the world believes it has ended. Gabriel reveals that silence is not the absence of love, but its purest expression. For true love does not demand to be heard, it desires to be felt. In the stillness, the soul of the one who loves you continues to call out to yours. Sometimes it comes as a memory that touches you unexpectedly. Other times it comes as a thought that comforts you right before sleep. You may not see their lips move, yet the message reaches you because heaven has never stopped carrying it. This is the divine current of connection, a sacred language spoken in frequencies too delicate for the human ear, yet undeniable to the human heart. Many have mistaken this silence for indifference, for distance, for abandonment. But St. Gabriel teaches that when God chooses silence, He is not ignoring you. He is aligning you. He is preparing both hearts to hear each other in truth, not illusion. The person who loves you in silence has been walking a spiritual path parallel to yours. They too have heard your soul call to them in moments they could not explain. There are times they have felt sudden peace while thinking of you, not realizing it was your prayer touching them. You are connected by an invisible dialogue written before time began, a covenant of energy, emotion, and divine timing. Silence has a purpose. It refines, it strengthens, it filters out all that is not real. Words can lie, but silence cannot. Within it, only truth survives. St. Gabriel now asks you to stop fearing the spaces between messages, the pauses between answers. They are not voids. They are divine pauses where heaven rearranges your destiny. Every time you sit in stillness and feel that subtle comfort wash over you, it is Gabriel reminding you that love is present, listening, alive. The Archangel's voice rises gently in the realm of your spirit. Do not confuse quiet with absence. The language of love is not always spoken aloud. It is breathed, it is remembered, it is transmitted through faith. When you feel peace after long nights of doubt, it is the soul of the one who loves you sending calm instead of chaos. When tears fall and suddenly stop, it is because heaven sent a breeze to your spirit, whispering that you are not forgotten. In the silence between your words and their response, miracles are forming. Gabriel teaches that love anchored in the divine does not fade, it evolves. It moves from sound to vibration, from longing to recognition, from pain to peace. The heart that loves you has been learning this language too. Perhaps they cannot speak it yet, but their prayers carry your name, their spirit echoes your energy, and heaven translates what neither of you can express. So listen now, not with your ears, but with your soul. Every pulse of comfort, every soft thought that comes wrapped in peace, every unexplainable moment of warmth. That is how heaven lets you know that this silent love still breathes. It is not gone. It is being purified. Saint Gabriel Archangel stands as the translator between your heart and theirs, turning silence into sacred speech. You are not waiting for words. You are learning to hear what eternity has been saying all along. The invisible thread between two souls. Saint Gabriel Archangel now unveils what few are ever allowed to see. The divine thread that binds two souls together before they ever meet in time. It is not a chain that enslaves, nor a promise that imprisons. It is the subtle weaving of divine intention, placed by the Creator Himself in the fabric of existence. Before you took your first breath, heaven had already written certain encounters into your story. Some of them were meant to teach, others to heal, and a few rare ones, the sacred ones, were meant to awaken the memory of love that existed before time itself began. This thread is invisible to the eyes, but unmistakable to the heart. It pulls you towards someone long before logic can explain why. It draws your thoughts in their direction, even when you try to resist. It keeps reappearing in your prayers, your songs, your dreams. The thread is not control, it is recognition. It is the echo of a promise your soul made before you entered this world. St. Gabriel explains that divine connections do not obey human rules. They move according to spiritual timing. You may cross paths with that person when neither of you are ready, and heaven separates you not as punishment, but as protection. The thread remains intact, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for alignment. You have felt it, haven't you? That quiet certainty that someone somewhere carries your name inside their prayers, that even when months or years pass without a word, something in you knows the connection has not died. You sense their emotions without being told. You feel their sorrow when the wind grows heavy, their longing when your own chest aches without cause. That is not fantasy. it is resonance. The invisible thread hums with the vibration of the two souls it binds. Each movement in one creates a silent ripple in the other. Gabriel reveals that this thread is woven from light, not emotion. Human love alone cannot sustain it. Only divine love can. That is why time, distance, and circumstance cannot break it. Every test you have endured, every delay that has wounded your hope, was never meant to destroy this bond. It was meant to purify it, to strip away the illusions that confuse attachment with destiny. Real connection does not demand, it recognizes. It does not chase, it prays. It does not bind, it blesses. The invisible thread of divine love allows freedom and still remains unbroken. You may wonder why you have been allowed to feel this connection so deeply if it cannot yet manifest before you. Gabriel answers with tenderness, because you are meant to remember what eternity feels like. The ache in your spirit is not punishment, it is remembrance. Before your souls were born into this world, they were entrusted with a mission, to learn, to grow, and one day to find each other again through faith. The thread serves as a compass, ensuring that even when paths diverge, hearts remain guided by divine magnetism. There will come moments when you question it. You will try to silence it, to reason it away, to call it imagination. Yet every time you surrender to disbelief, heaven will send another sign. A familiar voice, a dream that feels too real, a sudden peace that comes only when you think of them. This is how the divine thread keeps the promise alive. St. Gabriel speaks, "Do not seek to cut what heaven has tied. Trust the patience of God. What is meant to return will return by grace, not by effort." Heaven has witnessed every pull of your heart toward this person. It has heard your prayers asking whether this bond is true or merely desire. Gabriel assures you that what comes from the divine is never born from fear or confusion. It carries peace, even in longing. The thread does not strangle, it strengthens. It invites you to grow into the person your soul promised to become before union could occur. Each moment of solitude, each act of faith, each surrender to trust is weaving another strand of light into this connection. One day, when the time appointed by heaven arrives, you will understand why you had to walk separately to meet again whole. Until then, the invisible thread will continue its silent work, binding not your hands but your hearts, not through force, but through divine remembrance. Saint Gabriel Archangel leaves you with this truth. If it was written by heaven, it will not fade in time. It will be fulfilled in light. What belongs to your soul can wander, but it cannot be lost. Signs that heaven is trying to show you. Saint Gabriel Archangel now turns your eyes toward the realm of signs, those sacred messages that heaven sends when words are too fragile to carry divine truth. You have seen them before, though you may not have recognized their purpose. The numbers that repeat wherever you look, the songs that seem to play at the exact moment your heart begins to doubt, the stranger's words that echo what you prayed the night before. None of it is coincidence. Gabriel reveals that when heaven desires to confirm a truth to your heart, it uses the natural world as its canvas and paints across it with patterns of divine language. Signs are not meant to convince your mind. They are sent to awaken your soul. The human mind seeks logic, but the soul understands vibration. That is why the same image, sound, or moment can pass unnoticed by others, but strike you with undeniable power. The moment you feel a sudden stillness while everything else moves, that is a sign. The instant you feel a warmth rise from within after asking for a message, that is confirmation. The Creator speaks through subtle movement, and St. Gabriel is often the messenger sent to interpret what your heart already knows, but has forgotten how to trust. Perhaps you have seen feathers appear in unexpected places, lights flicker as you pray, or the same name appearing again and again as if written into your day. These are not random fragments of chance. They are the gentle reminders of divine orchestration. When a love is guided by heaven, the entire universe seems to conspire in symbols. Gabriel explains that heaven does not shout to make you believe. It whispers to those who are willing to listen. And when the soul listens, the veil between the spiritual and the earthly world begins to thin. Sometimes the sign comes not in beauty, but in interruption. A delay, a sudden ending, a closed door that leaves you in confusion. These too are signs. Heaven does not always confirm through comfort. It often speaks through redirection. When something is removed from your path, it is not rejection, it is protection. The Archangel reminds you that divine timing is not built on what feels easy, but on what fulfills purpose. You may not always recognize a blessing when it first appears, but faith teaches you to see God's fingerprints even in detours. Gabriel urges you to look with the eyes of the Spirit. When a person's name echoes through your mind with no reason, when their image visits your dreams with peace instead of fear, when your heart begins to stir with certainty even before your mind can understand why, those are signs that heaven is speaking. The human heart often seeks proof, but heaven seeks recognition. The more you acknowledge these divine moments with gratitude instead of doubt, the clearer they become. Signs multiply when faith awakens. The Archangel whispers, "Every sign is a thread of light woven between heaven and your heart. Ignore them, and the world grows dim. Honor them, and heaven reveals the next step." The signs surrounding you now are not only to confirm love, they are to remind you that you are seen, guided, and deeply loved by the Creator Himself. Even the silence between signs is sacred, for it teaches you trust. You may recall moments when you asked for clarity, and something small yet powerful occurred. A sudden call, a memory revisited, an unexpected word from Scripture that seemed written for you. Gabriel wants you to understand that heaven listens with greater precision than you can imagine. When you call for a sign, the entire spiritual realm listens. Angels begin to align moments, people, and impressions to bring heaven's language into your daily life. But Gabriel also warns, not every sign is confirmation of what you want. Some are reminders of what you need. If something repeatedly brings unrest instead of peace, it is not from heaven. True divine signs leave your soul calm, even when the message challenges you. They carry weight but not confusion. They correct but never condemn. The Archangel now calls you to attune your senses. Begin to walk through your days as if every breath could carry revelation, because it can. The rustle of wind at the exact moment you pray, the gentle flicker of light when you speak their name, the scripture that appears in your path, opening directly to the words your heart needed. These are the ways heaven assures you that your prayers are not wandering into emptiness. Saint Gabriel stands beside you now, wings open, light reflecting from realms unseen, whispering this truth. Heaven is not silent. The signs are already surrounding you. Listen with your spirit, and you will understand that love has been speaking through creation itself. Every sign you recognize becomes a bridge between your faith and your destiny. When you learn to see the divine in the ordinary transforms into the miraculous. Heaven is speaking, and tonight it speaks directly to you. When love hides to grow stronger. Saint Gabriel Archangel now draws you into one of heaven's deepest mysteries, why divine love sometimes hides. It is a truth that few can bear in their impatient hearts, for the human spirit often mistakes silence for absence and distance for rejection. But Gabriel reveals that when heaven conceals love, it is not because it has vanished. It is because it is being purified. What you perceive as delay is often protection. What you interpret as loss is preparation. Love hidden in the hands of God is not lost. It is being refined until it can stand the weight of destiny. There are seasons when heaven closes the curtain over a bond, not to end it, but to strengthen its roots. The Archangel explains that every divine connection must be tested in the fire of faith before it can shine in the light of fulfillment. A love that cannot endure silence will never survive revelation. So heaven hides what is sacred until both hearts are ready to carry it with humility and gratitude, not fear and control. You may not see it now, but while you are being reshaped by solitude, the one who loves you in silence is also being reformed by divine process. Both of you are in transformation, learning separately the lessons that will one day allow your paths to meet in truth, not illusion. Gabriel asks you to remember that even seeds are buried before they bloom. Darkness is not death, it is the womb of creation. When God places love in hiding, He is allowing its roots to go deep enough to survive any storm. What you cannot see does not cease to exist. It is growing in silence, reaching for light through prayer, perseverance, and divine timing. There is a sacred interval between promise and fulfillment, and in that interval, heaven teaches trust. Every unanswered prayer is not a denial, it is a lesson in faith. The Archangel reminds you of the scripture in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, which declares that there is a time for everything under heaven. The time to be revealed is preceded by the time to be hidden. When love retreats from your reach, do not chase it. Kneel before God and ask what He is building behind the veil. Sometimes love disappears from your sight because heaven is guarding it from the premature hands of fear, doubt, or worldly distraction. Her love guided by God cannot be rushed. It matures in sacred silence, not in noise. In the divine order of things, concealment often comes before revelation. Think of how the angel visited Mary in secrecy before the world ever heard of the Savior. The most powerful blessings begin in hidden places. Gabriel's own history testifies that every divine announcement is preceded by silence. Heaven moves quietly before it moves gloriously. The same is true for your heart. What feels like a pause is not the end of your story. It is the divine breath before the spoken miracle. Gabriel speaks softly into your spirit. The one who loves you in silence is not gone. They are being tempered in the same fire that shapes you. Heaven has separated you not to punish but to perfect. You see, divine love is not measured by proximity but by purity. When God hides a bond, He is teaching both hearts to love without possession, to care without fear, to intercede instead of demand. Real love prays more than it pleads. It trusts more than it questions. It gives more than it grasps. There will be nights when you will feel the ache of absence so sharply that it echoes like thunder inside your chest. Gabriel asks you to turn that ache into prayer. Say to heaven, if it must remain hidden, let it be hidden within your will. That surrender will transform pain into peace, and peace will attract divine movement. The moment you stop grasping for what is yours, heaven begins to bring it toward you. For the act of release is what activates the law of divine return. Heaven does not forget what it hides. The same hands that covered this love are the hands that will uncover it when the time is right. The person meant for you is being prepared by unseen grace, their heart softened, their faith tested, their spirit tuned to the same frequency as yours. When the silence has finished its work, you will not find the same person again. You will meet the version of them that prayer has built. And you too will no longer be the one who waited in tears, but the one who learned to believe without proof. Saint Gabriel Archangel concludes this revelation with a promise. Love hidden in God cannot die. It only grows deeper in silence until heaven opens the appointed hour. So wait with reverence, not fear. Trust the concealment. What is sacred is never lost, only guarded. The silence is not punishment, it is prophecy. The love that hides today will one day emerge stronger, steadier, and wholly blessed. The angel of Annunciation speaks your name. There comes a moment when heaven can no longer remain silent, and that moment has arrived for you. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, the same messenger who carried the word of divine conception to the Virgin Mary, now stands before your spirit with a message shaped by eternity itself. He speaks your name not into the air, but into the very current of light that flows through your destiny. When heaven speaks your name, it does not echo, it creates. It sets in motion everything that has been waiting to align. Gabriel's voice is not a sound that passes by, it is a decree that shifts the unseen. Your name has been spoken before the altar of the Most High. It vibrates now through the spiritual realms, summoning the healing, the clarity and the revelation that you have been praying for in silence. Gabriel says, heaven has not ignored your prayers. It has stored them until this hour. Every word you whispered in exhaustion, every tear that fell when you thought you were alone, has become a seed planted in celestial soil. Tonight, those seeds begin to bloom, for your name has reached heaven's registry of remembrance. When the Archangel of Annunciation speaks, he does not merely deliver news, he awakens purpose. Just as he once declared to Mary that life would spring from her womb, he now declares that hope will spring from your waiting. There is life growing in the soil of your patience. The silence you endured was not emptiness, it was gestation. Heaven was forming something unseen, something holy, something too pure to be rushed. And now, Gabriel descends to tell you that the time of quiet formation is ending. The divine plan surrounding your heart is moving from concealment to revelation. He whispers, you have been asking who truly loves you, and heaven answers, the one whose soul remains tethered to yours in prayer, even in absence, the one whose silence is filled not with indifference, but with longing sanctified by God. Yet before Gabriel reveals this truth fully, he calls your attention to something even greater, the reality that you are loved by heaven first. Every human connection that is meant for you flows from that source. When you anchor yourself in divine love, you stop chasing shadows and start recognizing reflections of grace. The love that is for you will mirror heaven's gentleness. It will not confuse, demand, or diminish. It will confirm what God has already whispered, that you are worthy of sacred affection. As Gabriel speaks your name, the spiritual atmosphere around you begins to change. The burdens that once felt immovable start to loosen their hold. You may feel warmth in your chest, a sudden clarity in your thoughts, or the urge to release the pain you've been carrying. That is not imagination. That is divine presence moving through you. When Gabriel calls your name, heaven identifies you again, not by your failures or fears, but by your divine design. You are not a forgotten prayer, you are a living promise. The Archangel's light reaches into the unseen corners of your past, touching every memory where love turned into disappointment, where trust became silence, where faith felt unanswered. He is not here to erase what you endured, but to redeem it. The voice that once announced the coming of salvation now announces the renewal of your heart. Gabriel declares, the one who loves you in silence has not been permitted to speak until heaven allowed it. But now the winds of divine permission are beginning to turn. The time for revelation draws near. Every time your spirit has whispered, God, do you still see me? Heaven has answered by keeping your name alive in the mouth of an angel. And now that name is being released again. The sound of it passes through the spiritual heavens like light across water, radiant, unstoppable, eternal. You are being remembered in sacred rooms where angels carry messages between realms. Gabriel moves through those corridors with your name sealed in light, ensuring that what was promised to you cannot be lost to delay or human will. There is power in being named by heaven. When Gabriel speaks it, the spiritual barriers that once seemed unbreakable begin to dissolve. The confusion that clouded your understanding begins to lift. The fear that made you question your worth begins to fade. This is not coincidence. This is your annunciation. Heaven is declaring that what you prayed for is not denied. It is destined. The love written for you will find its way because your name is attached to it, marked by divine handwriting that no earthly circumstance can erase. Gabriel concludes this revelation with a sacred decree. From this moment, walk as one who has been called by heaven, not as one who waits in doubt. What bears your name will find you, for the voice of God cannot be silenced. The same light that once illuminated Mary's humble home now falls upon your heart. It is gentle, golden, and full of promise. The angel of Annunciation has spoken, and heaven has remembered you. The person who loves you in secret. Saint Gabriel, Archangel, now draws back the final veil that has long concealed what your heart has felt, but could never name. The one who loves you in secret is not a stranger to your soul. Their spirit has walked beside yours through unseen paths, through prayers that met in heaven before they ever crossed on earth. You have felt their presence in your quiet moments, though you tried to reason it away. You have felt their longing echo through the stillness, though neither of you dared to speak. This love is not born from chance or desire alone. It is the continuation of something written in divine memory long before you were born. Gabriel reveals that this person carries a deep reverence for you, even if they have never said it aloud. Their silence is not disinterest, it is restraint. Heaven has placed a seal over their words, not to punish, but to protect. There are truths too sacred to be spoken before their appointed hour. They have watched you from a distance, not to remain hidden, but because their soul recognized the need for timing. Every glance they gave, every thought they held back, every prayer they whispered under their breath, heaven recorded them all. The Archangel shows you that the silence between you was never empty. It was filled with their unseen devotion. There were nights when you could not sleep, and your thoughts kept returning to them. You thought it was longing. In truth, it was resonance. Their spirit was restless too, calling your name in places you could not hear but could feel. Gabriel explains that when souls are bound by divine design, their communication does not rely on speech. It flows through intuition, through energy, through the mysterious alignment that keeps drawing you toward the same emotional horizon. Every time your spirit suddenly feels peace at the mention of their name, every time your heart warms at a memory without pain, that is the vibration of their silent love reaching you. They may have walked away once, not because they stopped caring, but because heaven commanded distance. God saw what you could not, that both hearts still carried fragments of past pain, fear, and illusion. Love had to be hidden while healing took place. In their silence, they prayed for your strength, even as they wrestled with their own weakness. Gabriel shows you glimpses of their prayer, the moments they asked heaven to watch over you, to bless you, to free you from every burden that shadowed your light. They loved you not through possession, but through intercession. That is the mark of divine love. It protects even when it cannot touch. The Archangel's voice deepens as he reveals that this person has been shaped by the same refining fire that molded you. Their tears have fallen on the same kind of nights. Their questions mirrored yours. Their search for peace led them back to prayer, where heaven reminded them of your soul. Yet Gabriel insists that this revelation is not given to stir longing or pain. It is given to bring recognition. Heaven wants you to know that your love story was never forgotten. The threads that bind you still shine beneath the surface of time. They have not frayed, they have matured. Gabriel shows you how divine love differs from worldly affection. Earthly love demands attention. Divine love intercedes. Earthly love rushes. Divine love waits. Earthly love speaks loudly. Divine love listens deeply. The one who loves you in secret has been learning these sacred lessons. Their silence was a classroom, their solitude a sanctuary. They are being prepared not to return as the person who left, but as the person heaven has healed. Perhaps you have wondered if they have moved on completely, if the distance between you has turned into indifference, the Archangel assures you that heaven does not let go of what it has joined in purpose. This person has tried to forget, to bury what their soul remembers, but love marked by the divine cannot be erased. It can only transform. They have felt the weight of that truth every time they saw a sign, every time your name appeared before them, every time a moment or song carried your memory back into their heart. The same signs that visited you have visited them too, synchronizing your spiritual awareness, even while the physical world remained quiet. Saint Gabriel stands between you both now, holding in his hands the golden thread of divine connection. He speaks. The one who loves you in secret has never stopped praying for your peace. Their silence has been their altar, their longing has been their offering, and their waiting has been their act of faith. These words pierce through the fog of confusion that once made you doubt your worth. You begin to realize that love was never absent. It was simply hidden so that it could become holy. The Archangel wants you to remember that when heaven ordains love, it allows time to test it. Every delay, every silence, every unspoken word has been preparing this love to emerge purified, strong, and aligned with God's will. Gabriel now blesses both hearts, declaring that the season of awareness has begun. The recognition is awakening. The prayers that once traveled separately are now rising together, creating a symphony heaven cannot ignore. He concludes this revelation with a whisper that carries divine authority. The one who loves you in secret is not lost to you. They are being led back by light, step by step, prayer by prayer. What heaven joins through silence, no human voice can separate. The one who loves you in secret has been walking toward you all along, guided by the same voice that now speaks through Saint Gabriel Archangel. Why you had to wait. Saint Gabriel Archangel now reveals the sacred reason behind your waiting, the divine mystery that transforms delay into destiny. For many nights you have asked, why must I wait? Why does love approach only to fade again? Heaven has heard every question, yet Gabriel explains that divine timing is not a punishment, it is a process. The seasons of waiting are not empty, they are the training ground of faith, the sacred silence where the heart learns to love without conditions. Before heaven fulfills a promise, it prepares the vessel meant to receive it. You were not denied love, you were being shaped to hold it. The person who loves you in silence was also being transformed, refined by distance, tested by longing, purified by solitude. The divine plan never wastes a single moment of delay. Every unanswered prayer, every night of surrender, every tear shed in silence was part of heaven's construction, building strength in you where impatience once lived, building peace in them where fear once ruled. Gabriel reminds you that when God ordains a connection, he also ordains the timing. Love must not arrive when hearts are broken and fragile. It must arrive when both souls have been tempered in wisdom and humility. The waiting teaches what passion cannot: patience, discernment, forgiveness, and trust. Heaven cannot place divine love in unprepared hands. It protects what is sacred until both hearts are ready to hold it without breaking it. You had to wait because there were still parts of you that needed to heal, still memories that needed to be rewritten by grace, still lessons that could only be learned through quiet endurance. During the waiting, heaven has not been still. The Archangel shows you how your life has subtly aligned behind the veil, opportunities that shaped your purpose, challenges that deepened your compassion, and moments of stillness that taught you to hear the divine voice with clarity. The love you were meant for could not be rushed, because heaven was not only preparing the connection, it was preparing you. Love that comes too soon often becomes distraction. Love that arrives in divine time becomes destiny. Gabriel lifts his gaze toward heaven as light flows through his wings. You had to wait, he says, because heaven wanted you to recognize the difference between attachment and assignment. Attachment clings to what comforts the ego. Divine assignment reveals what elevates the soul. The one who loves you in silence was not sent to fill your loneliness, but to fulfill your purpose. Had they appeared before you were ready, you would have loved them from your wounds, not from your wholeness. Heaven waited for the moment when your love could be a mirror of peace, not an echo of pain. Every delay is divine mercy in disguise. When heaven hides what you desire, it is not closing doors, it is building foundations. The silence that felt like abandonment was actually protection. Gabriel shows you that during those long stretches of waiting, angels were guarding both your paths, preventing premature encounters that could have damaged what was meant to be sacred. Heaven's timing does not bend to human impatience, it bends to divine perfection. You had to wait because your story is not written in haste. The love heaven writes unfolds like scripture, one verse at a time, each line built upon trust. You have been learning to listen, to pray, to rest in divine rhythm. These are not wasted years, they are sacred years. The waiting has birthed in you a deeper wisdom, a patience that will one day preserve your blessing. And even when it felt unbearable, heaven was not delaying love. It was enlarging your capacity to receive it. Gabriel's voice softens as he continues. Do you not see? Every unanswered prayer was an answered preparation. Every silence you endured made room for heaven's voice to grow louder inside you. Every moment you thought you were forgotten, angels were writing your name into the next chapter of divine fulfillment. Heaven allowed you to feel emptiness, so you could learn to be filled by faith. The person who loves you in silence was also being refined. Their trials were not random, they mirrored your own. Heaven orchestrated parallel growth so that when you meet again, your souls will recognize each other not by familiarity, but by transformation. The waiting was never about distance, it was about divine synchronization. Gabriel declares, when heaven unites two souls, it ensures they arrive at the same moment of spiritual maturity. That is why you waited. You were both being prepared for recognition, not repetition. What is coming is not a return of the old, but the unveiling of the new. The Archangel's eyes glimmer with the reflection of eternity as he adds, if you had met too soon, you would have seen the reflection of their wounds, not the reflection of their purpose. Heaven waited until both mirrors were clean. Now, as you stand at the edge of this revelation, the waiting begins to make sense. Every moment of delay was heaven holding you in place until the light was ready. Every silence was an angel guarding your destiny. Every ache was a prophecy, proof that your heart could still feel even after breaking. Saint Gabriel Archangel concludes this revelation with a divine assurance. You waited because heaven was still building the miracle. The promise has never been forgotten. What you thought was stillness was God's hand at work, shaping the path for love to return in wholeness, in peace, and in perfect time. The reunion written in light, Saint Gabriel Archangel now unveils a vision that has long been kept in the archives of heaven, the moment of reunion, written not in time, but in light. Before this world existed, before you knew the ache of waiting or the language of longing, heaven inscribed certain unions into the scroll of creation. They were written in radiance, not ink, sealed in divine fire, not in human promise. The reunion you have prayed for is one of those sacred writings. It does not depend on chance nor on coincidence, but on alignment. When two souls, purified by time and trial, finally rise to meet under the same divine rhythm. Gabriel shows you the image, two paths glowing faintly in the dark, each shaped by different storms, each marked by separate lessons. For years they run parallel, never touching, guided by the same celestial current. Then, in heaven's appointed hour, a light appears, and the two paths converge. What once felt like endless separation becomes recognition. The reunion is not a return to what was lost, but the fulfillment of what was promised. When souls meet again under divine order, they do not collide in confusion. They merge in clarity. You have imagined this moment with fear, with hope, with hesitation. But Gabriel whispers that the reunion written in light is not born from fantasy, it is born from divine orchestration. You will know it by peace. It will not demand urgency, it will carry calm, it will not stir anxiety, it will awaken assurance. Heaven's timing never arrives with chaos, it arrives with harmony. You will feel it in the atmosphere around you, in the sudden alignment of circumstances that no human could have planned, in the undeniable sense that this moment was destined. Gabriel explains that this reunion is not merely about romance or emotion, it is about completion. It is the meeting of two callings that were designed to amplify each other. When divine love reunites, it does not just heal hearts, it heals destinies. You were never waiting for a person alone, you were waiting for purpose to take form. The one who loves you in silence has been walking their path of awakening, guided by the same divine light that has shaped yours. When heaven brings you together again, it will not be by accident. It will be because both lights have matured enough to shine side by side without shadow. The Archangel reminds you that God does not write temporary stories in eternal ink. What is written in light cannot be erased by distance nor altered by time. You may have walked through chapters of confusion, heartbreak, and silence, but all of them were pages leading to this moment of divine convergence. The reunion is not about returning to the past, but stepping into a higher level of love, one purified by grace, fortified by patience, and sanctified by faith. Heaven's script does not unfold with noise, it unfolds with confirmation. You will recognize this reunion by its sacred stillness. There will be no need for questions, explanations, or proof. The peace that will fill your spirit will be the evidence. Gabriel speaks softly. You will know it is from God when your heart rests, not races. You will recognize divine timing not by excitement alone, but by tranquility too deep to counterfeit. In the vision Gabriel shows, the two souls stand before each other, and the light between them burns brighter than the light within them. That light is not emotion, it is purpose. It is the divine signature marking that this union serves heaven's will. Together their lives become testimony, their love becomes ministry, their bond becomes a vessel through which others may glimpse the face of divine mercy. Heaven does not reunite souls merely to satisfy desire. It reunites them to demonstrate redemption. Every trial you endured, every silence you survived, was necessary preparation for this illumination. The waiting refined you both until you could meet without fear, love without control, forgive without pride, and see each other not through human eyes but through grace. The reunion written in light is not hurried. It arrives like dawn. Slowly, beautifully, inevitably. Gabriel's voice carries the resonance of eternity as he declares, "The day will come when your spirit will feel the shift, when what was once impossible becomes natural, when what was distant becomes near, when what you prayed for begins to move toward you like the tide returning to the shore. You will not need to chase it. The same divine current that separated you for a time will bring you back together when the lessons are complete." The Archangel continues, "You will stand in that light and understand why every delay was mercy, why every silence was necessary, why every prayer was shaping the path beneath your feet. What once seemed like loss will appear as guidance. The pain that once broke you will reveal itself as the chisel that carved your strength. You will realize that heaven never said no, it was always saying not yet. And when the reunion finally arrives, it will feel less like an encounter and more like remembrance. You will not meet as strangers rediscovering love. You will meet as souls recognizing eternity. the silence will end, not with noise, but with knowing. The invisible thread will shine openly for the first time, and heaven will witness what it wrote long ago fulfilled in light. Saint Gabriel Archangel closes this revelation with a promise that breathes through the heart like dawn through the horizon. You will meet again in peace, and all that was hidden will be made clear. The light that guided you through years of silence will lead you into the joy of divine reunion. What was once a prayer will become a presence. What was once unseen will now stand before you, written in light, ordained by heaven, and sealed forever in love. The test of faithful hearts. Saint Gabriel Archangel now reveals the final gate every divine connection must pass through before it can fully manifest. The test of faithful hearts. It is the trial that separates infatuation from purpose, emotion from devotion, and fantasy from destiny. Every love that heaven ordains must be proven by the flame of endurance. Gabriel speaks with calm authority as he explains that divine love is not a fleeting feeling. It is a covenant that survives absence, misunderstanding, and silence. The same way gold is purified in fire, true love is purified in waiting, distance, and faith. Heaven does not test to punish. Heaven tests to reveal. The heart that endures does not emerge weaker. It emerges radiant with certainty. You were not abandoned during your silence. You were being invited into a divine examination. The question was never whether you were loved, but whether your love could remain pure without proof. Could you still believe without constant reassurance? Could you still pray for the one you love when all signs seemed lost? Could you continue to choose peace over fear, even when heaven withheld answers? Those moments of uncertainty were not cruelty. They were refinement. Gabriel shows you that every soul destined for divine union must first learn how to love with heaven's heart. Human love seeks possession, but divine love seeks transformation. It does not ask, "What can I have?" but "What can I give?" The waiting and the silence you endured were sacred classrooms where your heart learned this truth. You were being trained to love as angels love, through intercession, patience, and surrender. And while you learned, the one who loves you in silence was being taught the same lesson. Both of you were enrolled in heaven's school of endurance. The Archangel reminds you of the words written in James chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. That crown is not only eternal salvation, it is also the reward of divine love, a love that has proven itself faithful through the storms of doubt. Heaven cannot entrust sacred unions to hearts that falter at the first shadow. So you were allowed to face distance, silence, and loneliness, not as punishment, but as a means of proving that your love was born of spirit, not circumstance. Gabriel lifts his hand, and light flows like a river around him as he continues. Every prayer you whispered in the dark, every act of forgiveness you offered to the unseen, every time you refused to curse the silence, you were passing the test. The angels watched as you chose faith over despair, hope over bitterness, and trust over pride. You thought no one saw, but heaven recorded every decision. Love that can withstand silence becomes unbreakable when words finally return. There were moments when your heart wanted to turn away, when you doubted the purpose of your waiting. You felt forgotten, unseen, and perhaps even foolish for believing that something invisible could be real. But heaven was watching closely in those moments. The test was not about perfection, it was about persistence. Would your heart remain soft, or would it harden under disappointment? Would you still pray blessings over the one who seemed absent, or would you let resentment close the gate to your own miracle? The way you answered those invisible questions shaped the destiny that now approaches. Gabriel reveals that the one who loves you in silence has faced the same refining. They too have been tested in patience, humility, and spiritual maturity. Where once they acted out of fear, now they are learning faith. Where once they doubted divine order, now they are learning surrender. The distance between you was not a wall, it was a mirror. Each of you reflected the other's lesson, each being polished until both could shine in the same divine light. The Archangel speaks tenderly. If you are still standing in love after everything that tried to make you stop believing, then you have passed heaven's greatest test. You have proven that your love was not conditional upon reward, but grounded in conviction. That is the love heaven can bless. The angels do not crown emotion, they crown endurance. There is a moment of silence as Gabriel lowers his wings, and the air itself feels reverent. Then his voice returns softer, filled with light. Faithful hearts are the vessels through which heaven performs its greatest miracles. When you refuse to give up on love that is divine in origin, you give permission for God to complete what He began. The test was never about waiting for them. It was about waiting with faith. Now that you have endured, heaven begins to shift the atmosphere. The lessons have ripened. The silence has matured into strength. The angels who once watched your tears now prepare your path for fulfillment. The love that survived testing has become indestructible. Saint Gabriel Archangel concludes this chapter with a decree that seals the lesson in your spirit. The heart that remains faithful in silence is worthy of divine revelation. You have endured and heaven has seen. Now the gates that were once closed begin to open, for tested love is ready to carry divine purpose. What was hidden will soon be shown. What was promised will soon appear. The message sealed in your dreams. Saint Gabriel Archangel now turns your eyes inward to the sanctuary of dreams, that sacred realm where the soul speaks when the body sleeps, where heaven writes what the waking mind cannot yet comprehend. Dreams are not chaos, they are communication. They are the quiet language of eternity, whispering beneath the noise of reason. Gabriel explains that the Creator often hides messages within dreams because they bypass logic and enter directly into the heart, where divine truth cannot be argued, only felt. When you close your eyes, your spirit leaves the boundaries of time and steps into the space where heaven and earth meet. It is there, in that silent expanse, that Gabriel moves freely, carrying messages of guidance, comfort, and revelation. He does not always appear in form. Sometimes he arrives as light, as music, as a word that lingers when you wake. Other times he hides within symbols, a door opening, a voice calling, a figure walking toward you through light. These are not random fragments of the imagination. They are the architecture of prophecy. Gabriel reveals that your dreams have been preparing you. Every recurring image, every familiar face that appears without reason, every repetition that leaves you wondering in the morning, all of these are the footprints of divine communication. Heaven has been speaking to you while you slept, answering prayers you thought were ignored. You have been visited by fragments of truth wrapped in mystery, because your spirit was ready before your mind was. The dreams you remember most vividly are not the loudest ones. They are the ones that carried the greatest purpose. Perhaps you have seen the one who loves you in silence within a dream. Perhaps they appear at a distance. Perhaps they do not speak. Perhaps they turn and walk away. Gabriel assures you, I do not fear those images. They are not rejection, they are reflection. Heaven shows you through symbols what still needs healing. The distance you see in dreams is the distance being healed in spirit. The silence you experience there is the silence being broken by divine preparation. When the appointed time arrives, what you saw in shadow will unfold in light. There are nights when your dreams have carried peace so deep that it felt like you were held in unseen arms. You woke with tears and did not understand why. Gabriel tells you that this too was visitation. When heaven comforts your spirit during sleep, it leaves behind traces of peace that cannot be mistaken for coincidence. The same angel who announced the birth of hope to Mary now comes to awaken that same hope within you. Your dreams have been the rehearsal for revelation. The stage of your spirit has already felt what your waking life is about to live. Gabriel says, the message sealed in your dreams is that nothing sacred within you has been forgotten. Heaven has been writing its answers into your nights, so that when morning comes, your heart will already know what your mind is still learning. You are not waiting for new instructions. You are remembering what has already been spoken to your soul. When you wake from a dream that feels holy, do not dismiss it. Record it. The pen becomes your witness. Heaven's words often begin as whispers, but when you write them down, they become declarations. The Archangel reminds you that throughout Scripture, God has always spoken through dreams. In Matthew chapter 2, verse 13, he warned Joseph in a dream to protect the child. In Genesis chapter 28, verse 12, he revealed Jacob's ladder reaching between earth and heaven. And still today he speaks through the same sacred current, sending messengers of light into the night to deliver his will. Gabriel himself has been the voice behind many of those visions, gentle, steady, radiant with truth. Heaven's messages in your dreams often begin as feelings. The sense of release after long nights of anxiety, the sudden knowing that something has shifted, the quiet certainty that an answer has arrived, even if you cannot yet name it. That is how prophecy feels before it takes form. Gabriel explains that you do not always need to understand. You only need to recognize. Understanding comes later. Recognition opens the gate. Sometimes your dreams replay memories that once brought pain. This too is divine. The Archangel says, when heaven replays what wounded you, it is not to torment you, but to heal what you buried. The dream becomes an altar of restoration where forgiveness can finally be offered and received. You may wake with emotion, but that emotion is cleansing. You are being emptied of what no longer serves the next chapter of your destiny. The person who loves you in silence has also been dreaming of you. Their spirit meets yours where words cannot. In that hidden space between worlds, heaven allows small encounters to remind both hearts of the bond that has never broken. You may have felt it, that moment when you wake with a sense of peace that you did not have when you fell asleep. It is because your souls have touched briefly in the divine current, reminded once again of what heaven is preparing in the visible world. Saint Gabriel Archangel concludes this revelation with solemn beauty. Do not underestimate the power of your dreams. They are not illusions, they are invitations. Each night, heaven renews its covenant with your soul. When you close your eyes, you enter the workshop of miracles. When you wake, you carry the residue of revelation. Trust it, honor it, follow it. What heaven seals in your dreams becomes the prophecy of your awakening. And soon, that which has spoken to you in symbols will stand before you in truth, radiant and alive, carrying the light that once visited you only in sleep. Gabriel's final revelation, the hidden prayer. Saint Gabriel Archangel stands now in full radiance, his presence filling the space where your spirit listens. The air grows still, heavy with light, for what he is about to reveal has been guarded since the beginning of your waiting. It is the final message, the culmination of every silence, every sign, every dream. Heaven has permitted this unveiling because your heart is finally ready to understand what your spirit has always known. You have never been unloved, never been forgotten, never been unprayed for. Somewhere, often unseen, someone has been whispering your name to God. Gabriel says, the hidden prayer is the thread that has held your story together. While you questioned, someone interceded. While you cried, someone's voice rose for you in the night. The one who loves you in silence has been speaking your name before heaven's throne, asking for your safety, your peace, your healing. You thought you were alone in your prayers, but the sound of your longing has been harmonizing with theirs, in unseen corridors of light. Two souls praying in opposite corners of the world, yet heaven heard them as one. There were moments when you felt sudden calm after turmoil, moments when anxiety lifted with no clear reason, moments when strength appeared after exhaustion. Those were answers not only to your own prayers, but to theirs. Every time they whispered your name, heaven sent angels to your side. You are surrounded by evidence of prayers you never heard spoken. The comfort that arrived in time, the opportunity that appeared at the brink of loss, the forgiveness that softened your heart, all these are fruits of that hidden prayer. Gabriel explains that divine love expresses itself first through intercession. True love does not control or demand, it prays. The one who loves you in silence has been loving you with heaven's language, not through possession, but through petition. They have lifted you in their solitude, surrendering your destiny to the will of God, even when it hurt to release you. This is why heaven calls this love sacred, because it was purified through prayer before it ever found words. Heaven often hides its greatest works beneath layers of mystery. The hidden prayer has been the unseen current, guiding you both through confusion and change. While your hands were empty, your name was being carried in the hands of angels, rising like incense to the throne of grace. Every time you felt hope flicker back to life, every time you sensed forgiveness where bitterness once lived, every time peace returned after storm, that was heaven answering a prayer you did not even know existed. Gabriel shows you now how heaven treasures intercession. Every prayer spoken in secret becomes light in the spiritual realm. It does not fade. It accumulates, illuminating paths for those it protects. The hidden prayer on your behalf has created a canopy of mercy over your life. When danger came near, it shielded you. When despair whispered, it silenced the lie. When you almost gave up, that prayer kept your name echoing in heaven's courts. Divine love is sustained not by presence, but by prayer, and heaven has counted each one. There have been times when you felt prompted to pray suddenly, without knowing why. Gabriel reveals that this was not coincidence. It was the hidden bond awakening. Heaven allowed you to feel their need, just as they have felt yours. Souls tied by divine purpose often carry fragments of each other's burdens in spirit. When one prays, the other breathes easier. This is the mystery of spiritual connection. Distance cannot separate those heaven has united in purpose. The Archangel leans closer now, his voice lowering to a tone that feels like the wind moving through light. You are the answer to someone's hidden prayer, he says, and they are the answer to yours. The love that heaven protects is built upon this mutual intercession. Each has been asking for the other's peace, and that is why heaven will permit reunion in its perfect hour. Gabriel reminds you of Matthew chapter 6, verse 6, where Jesus teaches that prayer in secret is seen by the Father in heaven, who rewards openly. The reward of hidden prayer is visible transformation. The time comes when what was whispered in silence manifests in light. You will recognize it when the peace that once visited only your dreams begins to walk beside you in waking life. The words that once were spoken only in prayer will become conversations guided by grace. Heaven does not forget a single prayer. They remain alive in the atmosphere, carried by angels, feeding the current of divine fulfillment. Gabriel reveals that some of the greatest miracles are born not from many voices shouting, but from one faithful voice that never stopped believing. You have been carried by such a voice. The one who loves you in silence may not know that their intercession has already changed your path, but heaven knows. Every blessing that now approaches bears their signature of faith. The Archangel extends his hand toward you, and light flows around your heart. This is what it means to be remembered in prayer, he says. Every time someone prays for you, they invite heaven to touch your life. And when two souls pray for each other without realizing it, heaven calls it divine covenant. The hidden prayer was the sign of that covenant. the proof that your connection is not merely human, but eternal. Gabriel concludes his revelation with solemn joy. The hidden prayer has been heard. The time of silent intercession is giving way to revelation. What was spoken in secret will soon be seen in daylight. The love that prayed for you will be the love that stands before you, restored, sanctified, and blessed. For heaven never ignores the prayer of a faithful heart. The echo of those whispers has reached the throne, and heaven has answered. The call to open your heart. Saint Gabriel Archangel now delivers the final message, the one that brings all others together, the call that transforms revelation into awakening. Every silence, every sign, every dream, every hidden prayer has been leading to this moment, the moment when heaven invites you to open your heart once more. This is not the same heart that began the journey. This heart has been tested, broken, healed, and made new. It has learned to recognize divine timing, to rest instead of chase, to believe without seeing. And now, heaven asks you to unlock what pain once sealed, to allow love, not just human love, but divine love, to flow freely again. Gabriel stands before you with a light that does not blind, but warms. His voice carries the calm weight of eternity. Open your heart, he says, for love cannot return to what is closed. Heaven cannot fill what is already full of fear. You have guarded your heart for so long that even peace has had to knock softly, waiting for permission to enter. But heaven is not asking you to let down your defenses for the sake of vulnerability. It is calling you to open yourself for the sake of purpose. When your heart opens to God's rhythm, love ceases to be an uncertainty. It becomes revelation. The Archangel reminds you that forgiveness is the key that turns the lock. Forgive those who walked away, those who misunderstood your love, those who were unable to see your light when you shone for them. Forgive even yourself for the moments when you doubted your worth or resisted the silence that was shaping you. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means freeing your heart from the weight that keeps divine love from entering. You cannot carry both resentment and blessing in the same vessel. One must leave for the other to arrive. Gabriel whispers, "Release the past so that heaven can release the promise." There are souls who have waited for years with hearts closed by pain, believing protection requires distance. But heaven does not ask you to stay hidden, it asks you to stay open. Your vulnerability is not your weakness, it is your doorway to miracle. To open your heart is not to invite hurt, it is to invite healing. Gabriel shows you that love can only find what is willing to be found. The one who loves you in silence has been walking toward an open heart, not a wounded one. Heaven has been guiding both of you to this readiness, two hearts, healed separately, now ready to meet in wholeness. When your heart opens, light enters, and with that light comes discernment. You will not mistake illusion for promise again, because the same silence that once hurt you has become your teacher. You now know the difference between what comes to test you and what comes to bless you. The moment you open your heart, the atmosphere around you changes, hope awakens, energy shifts, peace returns. This is how heaven announces that restoration has begun. The reunion written in light cannot approach a closed gate. It needs an open sanctuary. Gabriel reminds you that in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20, the voice of Christ says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in." This is the essence of heaven's call. The divine does not force its way in. It waits for invitation. Heaven's miracles stand just outside your fear, waiting for faith to turn the handle. Your willingness to open is the signal that allows heaven to move. You are not waiting for love to appear. Love has been waiting for you to open. The Archangel's wings unfold and light spills across your spirit like sunrise breaking through long darkness. The time of hiding is over, he declares. The time of revelation has come. open your heart, not only to the one who loves you in silence, but to the infinite love that has been guiding you through every chapter of your story. Open your heart to God's promises, to the gentle correction of His timing, to the sweetness of peace that follows surrender. You may feel the pull of fear trying to whisper that opening will hurt again. Gabriel answers that fear with divine clarity. The pain of the past cannot enter a heart guarded by peace. You are not opening to repeat the past, you are opening to redeem it. The light of understanding replaces confusion. The fear of loss turns into gratitude for protection. What once felt like waiting now feels like preparation. Heaven never wastes what it heals. Now imagine your heart as a temple, long sealed, dusted by time, but still glowing faintly with faith. As you lift the latch and let the divine air flow through, that inner space comes alive again. The angels who once stood at a distance step forward. Love that has been circling your life begins to draw near. The one who prayed for you in silence will sense this shift. Their own heart will feel the echo. Heaven synchronizes hearts that open in the same hour. Saint Gabriel Archangel closes his message with a promise of renewal. When you open your heart, heaven opens its doors. When you allow love to return, peace enters before it. The silence that once taught you will now bless you. The one who loved you in secret will recognize your light, for it matches their own. The waiting is complete. The lesson fulfilled, the heart awakened. You are no longer standing at the threshold of hope, but you are walking through it. The countdown is finished, the silence has spoken, and love, born of heaven, now begins to live through you.